Hey guys, so again, some more news in college football. I'm going to talk spring games. USC and Texas both are canceling their spring games, and then I'm going to talk about the future of Colegio football. And guys, we are in trouble with college football, and it all was kind of caused by the out-of-conference slate. Like I was on, to tell you the truth, guys. Like I really wanted. What I wanted in what I wanted in college football is I did not want this playoff being expanded out to 12. Like I maybe would have been fine with 8. I think 12 is a ton of teams. And again, I value the regular season. So I know Ohio State won the Natty, but I kind of wanted like that Michigan game to be like a death blow. Like I want the regular season to be at full tilt. So, right, and I don't love Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC. I think it stacks up the SEC too much. The Big 12 took a major hit, and then not having any Pac-12 football, again, it sucks so bad to have like Syracuse, to have Syracuse travel to Stanford. The ACC doesn't make sense. Like all regional rivalries have been put aside for money, for greed, really. They were making plenty of money. So I know it's free markets in college football, but I kind of see it as greed, these conference realignments. So now, what you're going to have in this new system is you're going to have the Big 12 and the ACC. They're pretty much saying that they're going to get 2 teams each, and the SEC and the Big 10 are going to get 4 and 4, which would give you 8, 10, and then 12 guys. So boy, oh boy, like then you have 12 of the 14. Then you're going to get like a group of 5, and then you're going to get one team that you want to just choose. That's kind of what they're deciding. So the positive parts, again, not to be all doom and gloom, the positive parts are that the conference races are going to matter. But then again, like, and I watch Josh Pate, Joel Klatt, like, I watch a lot of college football content. There's several other names, all right, but what they pointed out is that it's just going to be based on conference, on conference seeding. So you're going to have Indiana in the Big Ten and even in the SEC, like Missouri, just luck of the draw, plays a easier schedule in an 18-team conference than like Florida does. So the thing is, like, I believe that in college football that like Alabama, they play Auburn every year. But Alabama should also be playing, I guess, LSU every year. I guess that still happens. But Alabama, let me think about their third rival. If I had to think of their third rival in, like, the SEC West, it's not A&M. It's not Arkansas. It might be Ole Miss. So I'd rather again keep that. If you're Florida, I guess you got to play South Carolina, you got to play Georgia. So maybe the SEC does have it that way, where you do play every year, you do play 2 teams. I know in the Big Ten, like Penn State didn't play the Michigan Wolverines, and that pissed me off, right? So the point is, guys, is that if you're giving automatic bids out to the conferences, the first 3 games, you're already canceling the spring games. The first 3 games are going to mean Jack, you fill in the blank. They're going to mean Jack, like, they're going to mean nothing. So say that I'm the University of Georgia and I'm ready to square off against Ohio State, or I'm ready to play Penn State. I'm ready to go up and play State College in a football game. I'm not giving 2 hoots about that game. And in fact, if my team is down big, as a coach, I would look to even maybe rest, because it has no impact on the playoffs. Like, you can get killed in your out-of-conference slate, and if it's just by conference if it's just by conferences, the first 2 games, you have no reason to schedule a really hard football game. You have no reason to put that wear and tear, and we're already playing so many playoff games anyway. So then it'll be preseason. And let me think about that. So you're kind of going to get so out of conference games will kind of be a casualty of this system. So do I mind that conference game? Do I mind no good games until like September 16th? Do I really care about that? Believe it or not, I'm willing even to I'm willing for the first 3 weeks to be mostly tune-ups. All right, I'm willing to do that. The ACC and the Big 12 can take the spotlights. Notre Dame can maybe take a good game. That's fine. I know a lot of you guys, again, like beggars can't be choosers, and we're in a tough predicament. So the great out-of-conference games that we're getting in college football, those things are gone if we're going by strict strength of schedule, rewarding these teams in the playoff, like strict win-loss in the conference slate. Then out-of-conference means absolutely nothing. The thing that's a little bit tough is that we're not really going to get a conference title game. So what could be interesting is maybe you have your two teams that are elite. Like maybe you get two teams that are automatically in the playoff, and then maybe your third team plays your sixth team and your fourth team plays your fifth team. So maybe conference championship weekend, you get like playing games, which is cool. Again, there is that extra spot out there, the 14th spot. So imagine if you still lose and still get in. I mean, that'll be terrible. But yeah, I mean, so the season will still be interesting for that portion. You'll still have really good conference races. You'll still have some playing games. So what I'm suggesting then, honestly, is that every conference have 9 conference games, 9 or 10, and every team play 11 regular season games instead of 12. You eliminate one of the non-cons, because you keep it at 11 then, because the playoff is already stretching these teams to 16 games. If you're going to win a natty, you're going to have to play. I think Ohio State played 16 games. That's too many games for players that are 18 to 22 years old to be playing. And the quality of play is going to get worse over time. I mean, you saw this in the SEC last year. You saw the wear and tear affect. You saw the wear and tear, like of Alabama, for example. Like they played Oklahoma. They played horribly. They played Vanderbilt. They just played downright terrible. They played South Carolina. They were downright terrible. Ole Miss against Kentucky. Like, when you play that many games, you're going to turn out a product that is absolutely terrible at points. So I'm all in favor of less games. I'm looking for less games and more meaningful games, because, again, I'm quality over quantity. I don't want 16 or 17 games. And, again, like the non-con make conference play that good. So fine, if we have to, as college football fans, if we have to wait until September 16th to get crack-a-lackin' in conference play, fine. So we have that, right? But the college football playoff is extending the season. I want the season over by January 1st or at the latest January 8th. This was too long to end the season. It messes up transfer portal. It takes the buzz out of people are exhausted. I know I was tired. People say you can never get tired of too much football, but if the product is not the same, I'm gonna get tired of it. I watch football because it is unbelievable. That's why I watch football, because the product, because these guys are going full tilt and are putting their bodies on the line, and the games are really, really impactful. So that's why I care. If, again, like there's so many games, like Ohio State against Nebraska, that was not really Ohio State. Ohio State, this year when they played just a lot of other teams, they were just bland. I mean, the regular season for Ohio State fans, until the Michigan game, which was amazing, or until Penn State, they did not play their peak potential, and that's because Chip Kelly and Ryan Day were just waiting for the playoff to turn it on. So that's what's unfortunate about the playoff, is like a team like Oregon can play a great regular season, and a team like Ohio State can lose and play a very lackluster for them and can underachieve in the regular season. But it does not really matter because now the regular season, now you're allowing so many teams in the playoffs. It's exactly the same as the NFL playoffs. You have the Los Angeles Rams that are, a 9-7 team, and they beat the absolute living you-know-what out of the Minnesota Vikings, which had a great season. So the point would be is that if you allowed 6 teams in the NFL playoffs, if you allowed 6 teams in, the regular season would be better. And then again, so that's the way that I've been, okay? I don't love the 17 games or the travel. So again, you're just adding games just for money purposes. And then the fans too. Not only is the regular season going to get worse with adding all these playoff games, and the non-con is not going to be fun anymore. In the 14 playoff, the non-con was incredible. I mean, teams could be eliminated. Like Notre Dame versus A&M was like an elimination game from day one. Like Tennessee, if they ever went up to Fayetteville and lost, like they had no postseason. Like Arkansas ended you. The urgency of the old system was what made college football that great. Like the Vanderbilt game for Alabama still could have beat Oklahoma and still could have went to the big dance, okay? Spring games now are just being canceled. And first of all, my argument for why spring games shouldn't be canceled is like Matt Rule says that, players now, first of all, USC and Texas said, again, the wear and tear argument, which, again, I just argued. I just argued that the playoff is way too long. I mean, these kids are playing into January. I understand why Texas, that's a better argument. Again, I love spring games, so I don't want to see this happen as a fan. And you barely hit anyway in the spring game. And you got to see Arch Manning throw for 300 yards last year in the spring game. Fans are going to say, it's a spring game. It's a spring game. But again, it's a slippery slope argument. Again, you say, hey, you can have my pinky of my hand, and eventually your whole hand gets cut off. So again, it's slippery slope. Like once you give in a little bit, you continue to give in. It's not good. Why should you give up at spring game? So Matt Rule in Nebraska, they're arguing that other teams are going to see their product shown on the Big Ten Network. Well, one, you're talking about television dollars. The other thing is that by the way, that the Oregon Ducks, that the Texas Longhorns, that Texas Tech, that Ole Miss, that they actually have working internet and they actually have computers. That they can actually read a Steve Sipple article. That they can read that they can read from the Omaha World Herald. They can read not only Robin Washut, but my favorite guy up there. I love Sip. I love Callahan. But you can pretty much read Hurrdat. You can read the Omaha World Herald. The name's escaping me of the best guy who does reports after the games there. But that they're going to report on practice. They're going to say, Willis McGahee the fourth is having an amazing spring. That they're going to say that, right? You get intel from these scrimmages. In fact, they're going to be there and they're going to report. So what are you going to ban then the media from your scrimmage and have it so closed off? I mean, it's college football. This is for the fans. You should show your product to the fans. Those are the people that watch the games. Those are the people, Matt Rule just showed up at Lincoln, Nebraska. Troy Dannon is an Iowa guy. Okay, fine. He's probably a nice enough guy. I don't think he's a dyed-in-the-wool, Iowa guy that's just there to torpedo Nebraska athletics. But, Troy Dannon and Matt Rule, that Nebraska football fans have been watching the spring game for 40, 50 years. You know that's been happening. So, and now they just have the audacity to go out there and cut tradition of the spring game. And you could still read practice reports. The media, 24/7, Rivals, every local team's beat is still going to give practice reports. And I bet you that every responsible team that's out there is going to have people in the recruiting department and read those practice reports. That's how you study for the upcoming season. So In fact, people are not getting a ton from the spring game. You're probably getting a lot from the practices. It's almost like the Senior Bowl, and then the game can maybe validate something. So that is my argument, is that the beat writers are still giving out really important intel based on practice reports, based on who's playing well at practice. And then as a fan, you know, okay, this person can start, this person's not going to start. As a fan, like in the offseason, like, are you supposed to promote your players? And then I'd be thinking this, that if I'm a coach out there and I have a player and he gets offered a ton of money and wants to leave, the person gets offered money, like, shouldn't you be happy if they leave? Or shouldn't you say, like, you know what, go out there and shine. It's going to hurt us. It's bittersweet. You want to be able to coach the kid, but the kid's going to get paid. And then also, if the money is similar and the kid wants to leave, the kid should be able to leave. And it's up to you to say, okay, like, you're getting, equal or more money, but it's up to you to build the camaraderie to the point that an intermediary could come into play and offer more money based on a spring game, but you could still win out in that case and still convince the kid, the blood, sweat, and tears of spring practice, you could still convince them to stay. Now, maybe too, for Matt Rule and the spring game now, maybe this is heading towards a rule change, which I would agree with, which is that you can have spring games, have them later in the process, and have the portal end before spring games start. So push spring games back and have kids enter the portal and put maybe the transferring portal on hold or something so that no rules can just have like a week straight of transfer portal. But when you play in the spring game, like, it's too late. Like, once you strap on the pads for spring, you're there, and you're going to be committed to the team for maybe you make an NCAA, maybe you make a rule like that. That's what I would look at as commissioner. As I understand where Rule is coming from, I think it's overkill to eliminate this great event for fans to see the team for the upcoming season, and it's more affordable for a lot of fans and good tourist stuff for these small college towns to have like a little game day feel in the middle of April. Alrighty, guys, let me know what y'all think about playoff expansion, the non-conference schedules really being put to the test in this model. It's something that really should be addressed. Can't wait to hear your comments. And really, spring games being up in the air, I'm here to see y'all's comments on it. Alrighty, guys, thank you for watching.